Hello, my name is Norberto Martinez, and in this lesson we'll be creating a health and mana widget and then animating it. So the first thing we want to do inside of our content browser, we're going to go into our third person BP, and just here in empty space, we're going to right click and we're going to create a widget blueprint. And we're just going to name it health and mana. And we're going to double click and go inside. It'll open up the editor for the widget. And we're just going to snap it on top. And right here in the palette, we're going to have progress bar right here. We're just going to drag two inside, one for the health and one for the mana. And wherever you put this progress bar is where it will show up in your screen. So I'm just going to put it on the bottom left for now. And then I'm going to make it a little bit bigger by dragging on these circles. You'll see the little cursor change. I'm just going to make it about this big. Same thing here. And if you select it and you look on the right side in the details tab, if you scroll down, you're going to see a tab that says appearance. This controls the color of your progress bar. So if we want to change this progress bar to our health, which is usually red, what we can do is we can left click on the color itself right here, and it'll open up this color picker. And I kind of want a red color, so I'm just going to click and drag on this circle and just drag to the red area. And I'm going to bring this value down a little bit just to make it a bit darker. So right here you'll have the old color and then the new color. So if I want to make it a little bit dark, if I bring this down, you'll see the color change itself. Right here it's going to be a little bit more darker. If I bring this up higher, it's going to be a little bit lighter. And I'm just going to press OK. I'm kind of comfortable with that color. Now we can change the color for our mana as well. So if we click on the bottom, and this progress bar will be our mana, we can select this color right here. And let's make it a little bit darker right here. And bring this a bit down. That looks fine. So we have the old color and then the new color here. We're going to press OK. Now, on the same details tab in this progress bar right here, you're going to see a percent right here. Now, percent is how much the progress bar is filled. So we have 0 means nothing is there. It's completely empty, 0. But if you go to 0.25, it'll be 25% full. If you go to 0.50, it'll be 50% full. And if you go to 1, it'll be completely filled. So the progress bar itself has a value of 0, between 0 and 1. It doesn't go any higher, it doesn't go any lower when it comes to showing you how much is filled. 1, it would be full, and you won't see anything else being filled in because 1 is the highest number that it can get in terms of showing you. And the same thing here. So the progress bar in between 0 and 1. Now that we have this colored and we have an idea of the percent, what we're going to do now is I'm going to change the value to 0.5 on this and 0.25, or we can just keep them both at 0.5 actually, just so we can see that it's half filled in. And we want to click compile here, because if you don't compile, the changes won't transfer. And then we want to save. And you're going to notice that for right now, we have this widget created, but if we press play in the game, you don't see it anywhere. That's because we haven't connected it to the character yet. Now the character has its own blueprint. So just like we just created a blueprint right now, the health and mana blueprint, if you hover over it, it even says widget blueprint right here. There's a character blueprint. And if you're in the content all the way in the back over here, the third person template has created a third person character blueprint for you already. And that'll be found in the third person BP blueprint. And you'll see right here, it says third person character. Now, if you double click this, it'll open up the character's blueprint. Now, all this on top, if you don't already know, is just for movement, locomotions. So you don't really have to worry about anything on the top right now. But what we want to do is want to make sure that we can see the widget. So we need to have it here in the character blueprint, because when we press play, we're viewing anything that's connected to this character, the third person character blueprint. But because we haven't said, hey, show the widget, we can't see it right now. So we're going to right click an empty space and it'll open up this. And we're going to create an event begin play. So now it has a event begin play node, and then we're going to right click again an empty space, and we're going to search for create widget. And right here it says class, selection class. Right here we want to click and then select the widget we made. And then lastly, what we'll do is we'll create a add to viewport. Now for the return value, we want to collect it here to the target. And practically what we're saying here is, hey, when the game starts, I want you to create a widget. Which widget? Well, the health and mana widget. And then I want you to show it on the viewport. Now the viewport is the screen itself. So we're practically saying, hey, I want you to create the widget in the game that we just created right now, and then put it on the screen when we're using this character. So now if we press play, you should see it here. So now we see our health and we see our mana. So now what we're going to do is we're going to connect it to pressing a button. If we press this button, take this amount of health away. If you press this button, add this much health. And the way we're going to do that is in the third person character, we want to start adding a variable here. And for now, actually, let's drag and select all this, and we're going to hit the letter C on our keyboard. And we're just going to name this for right now health and mana widget. Now this is called comment boxes, and comment boxes are very helpful because when you drag out and you have a lot of nodes going around everywhere, you know where your items are at. So if I ever had an issue with my widget, maybe something's not connecting and it's not showing, perhaps something disconnected here, and we can reconnect it back, or if we need to ever change this, we can. But now that we have this, we're gonna go right here where it says variables on the bottom, and there's an addition symbol here, and we're gonna click on that, and we're gonna name this health. And on the top right in the details, it's going to say Boolean right here. We want to select that, and we're going to choose float. Now float is a number. And let's compile this real quick. And now we have a number here in our third person character that we can control. Now we're going to add another one. We're going to add mana. So now we created two floats, health and a mana. And we can put any number we want in these variables. So right here you see 0. We could put 0.5. We could put 1. We could put 2.5. So now we have a float variable that if we created a function, we can change however we want. For now, we're going to go into our health and mana, and we're going to select one of our progress bars. And if you remember, in our progress, in our percent, we have 0.5 here. And remember, we can go from 0 to 1, but right now we don't have anything that controls this. We would have to constantly come into our widget if we want to change this bar. So it wouldn't really work for the game unless we created a function. And that's what we're going to do right now. Right here on the right side, it's going to say bind. It says create a binding. And what this is going to end up doing is we're going to connect this to our character. So now what we can do in here, in our character blueprint, hey, when we press number 1, add this amount of health to this variable, to health. And then we can check on that in our widget. And if health is 0.25 here, it's going to change the percent for us in our widget. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to put cast to third person character. For the object, I'm going to get player character. And we're just going to drag it over here. And then for as third person character, I'm going to search for health. So I'm going to put get health. And I'm going to connect this to the return value. Now what I'm doing here is I'm right here where it says cast a third person character. This grabs our blueprint here. Now we don't have any variables here in our widget, but we have variables here. We have the health and the mana. But in order for us to grab the health and the mana, we need to be able to first say, hey, look into the third person character blueprint. And that's what this does, cast a third person character. And then here where it says as third person character, what we're saying is, hey, go inside the third person character, and inside the third person character, I want you to find health. And right here it says get health. Because if we don't have this cast a third person character, we can never grab this health. So first we need to call on the third person character and then find the health within the third person character. And then we want our float to connect to the return node here. And this is going to send the value of whatever health is into our progress percent here. So whatever health is now, it'll return it into our get percent here. So right now it's at 0. Oh no, wait. Right now it's at point. Let's change that to 0.5. Right now it's at 0.5. But now it'll with our function here, it'll constantly be checking to see what health is. And if health ever changes, that'll be our new number for our percent here. Now we're going to compile this. And what we're going to do is we can actually check already, since we already created our function here. If we go into our third person character and we press play, save all, and we go into our health. Right now our health is 0.25. So if I press play, you'll see our health is at about 25% because that's what it is. And if we escape and we go back to our third person character and we just go here to our health and we change our health variable to, let's say, 0.5, and then we compile this and we play the game, now it's 0.5. So we no longer have to go into our health and mana widget here. We don't no longer have to come in here and change whatever value this is here, because now it's connected. We created that function here. We call the third person character, we use the health variable we just created, and now it's connected to our percent. So now we also want to do the same for our mana. So we're going to click here and we want to bind our percent, because again, percent is what controls how much our progress bar is filled. At 0 it's nothing, at 0.5 it's a half, and then at 1 it's full. So it's in between 0 and 1. And we want to bind this, so we're going to create a binding for mana as well, and it's the same. We're going to go over here and we're going to put cast to third person character, because again, we made the variable in our third person character, because in the third person character is where you do all the functions for when you press a number, when you do this, when you do this, when the player does this on the keyboard, do this. So all that function happens here in our character blueprint. So we need to make sure this is connected to our widget, so that way our widget can know when something is being pressed and when to change. And then for our object, again, we're just going to say get player character. And right here, as third person character, because if I right click and I type in right now get mana, there's no mana here because there's no variable here that we created. There's no variable here. The variables that we created is in our character blueprint. So that's why we're using cast third person character. We're saying, hey, look inside the third person character blueprint, and inside here, I want to get mana. And there it is. And then we want to connect this to the return value. So this mana is now in control of our percent. So, and we can check it again. So if we compile this and we go to third person character and we go to mana, right now it's at 0. So right now it should be empty. And if we go here and we play, it's empty. And if we go and we can change it now, we'll do 0.25. It should be 25% full. Go here and we press play. Now it's 0.25. And now if we go into our third person character and we change it to 0.5 and we compile it, now we press play. Now it's halfway. But now we want to animate it, right? When we press number one, change it by this much. When we press number two, press it by this much. So just so we can get that button pressing animation where maybe somebody's activating an ability or maybe somebody's doing this and they take damage. So what we're gonna do now is just something very simple, just to get a little bit of an animation in. Is we're gonna delete this. I'm gonna right click and we're gonna type in one. Right here, it's gonna say keyboard events. We're gonna select one. We're gonna right click. I'm gonna type in set health. We're gonna right click again and find get health. We're gonna drag from health and we're gonna type in float plus float. It's right here. Float plus float. And we're gonna drag that and set it right here. And now right here where it says pressed, we're gonna connect it. And right here on the value at the bottom, it says 1. We're going to change that to 0.25. So what's happening here, it says health plus 0.25. So whatever your health is currently at, ours is at 0.5, add 0.25 and set that as the new health. So we're getting the current health, add it by 0.25, set that as the new health. Each time we press 1. And we can test this. Now if we compile this right now, we go into our third person example map, we look, right now our health is at 0.5. We're going to press 1, it went up 0.25, press 1 again, now we have 0.25. So we have this cool health animation for our little widget. And now we can do the same for our mana. So if we escape and we go into our health, our third person character blueprint, we can right click and press 2. Now it says keyboard events. We can drag from press and type in set mana. We're going to right click and type in get mana. And then we're going to drag from mana, type in float plus float. And it's the same principle. So we do 0.25 and then connect mana into here. Now we have get the current mana that you have, and ours is 0.5 currently. It starts at 0.5. Add 0.25 to that and then set that as the new mana each time we press number 2. Now we're going to compile this and now we're going to test it out. So we have something connected to number 1 and we have something connected to number 2 now. Number 1 is health and number 2 is mana. We're going to go to our third person example map. We're going to press play. If we press 1, our health goes up. Press 2, our mana goes up. So we have this cool animation now for our video game, and it's a start for something a little bit more complex. Now later on we can create even more advanced things where we connect it to our animation blueprint. So every single time they press 1, not only does the health come up, but the character gets animated and he does stuff and particles come out like they're activating an ability. And it can work for all sorts of different things. Not like it'll be animated with the widget, but also with the character itself, and just have loads of more fun with this. For now, we have this nice little animation for our health and mana for our video game, and it's a start. And that's it for today. For the next lesson, we'll do more advanced things. We'll connect the animation blueprint to this and just make it look a little bit nicer.